Warning: the following content may be disturbing to viewers. The information is provided for educational and entertainment purposes only based on the verbatim federal courtroom testimony of the Sean Diddy Combs trial as reported by Inner City Press. The courtroom held its breath on day 7 of the Diddy trial as Sheila E. stepped to the stand. Known as Prince's fierce percussionist and trusted confidant, her presence alone was a shock. But what she carried, whispers from a legend who knew too much, turned the air electric. "Prince warned me," she said, her voice steady yet searing. "If I vanish, it's no accident. They'll paint it that way." Before his mysterious death in 2016, Prince confided in her, haunted not by mortality, but by a truth he couldn't unsee. The music industry was a labyrinth of secrets where parties masked as celebrations hid cameras, coercion, and control. One name surfaced again and again in his fears: Sean Diddy Combs. Sheila's testimony wasn't just a revelation. It was a detonation exposing a system that silenced artists and a man Prince believed orchestrated it all. As she spoke, the question burned: did Prince pay the ultimate price for daring to expose the darkness? Sheila E. began her testimony calmly, but her words carried weight. She told the jury that shortly before Prince's death in 2020, the legendary artist became increasingly paranoid. Not of death itself, but of being silenced. "He was unsettled," Sheila said. "He told me, there's more going on in this industry than anyone knows. It's not just about owning your masters, it's about who owns you." According to Sheila, Prince believed the music industry had become a breeding ground for manipulation, exploitation, and even coercion. She recalled one specific late-night phone call where Prince told her, "There are people at the top playing God. If I speak too loud, they'll shut Jeu de Mots down." Sheila revealed that he mentioned several names, but one in particular kept coming up: Sean Diddy Combs. Prince believed that Diddy was involved in deals that went far beyond music and that he was protected by powerful institutions. "He didn't say it out of jealousy," Sheila clarified. "He said it because he had seen it firsthand." Sheila also said Prince warned her never to go to certain industry parties, specifically ones where Diddy would be in attendance. He said, "You don't want to be in that room. Things happen there that you can't unsee." These weren't ordinary after-parties. Prince allegedly called them rituals masked as celebrations. While Sheila said she initially thought Prince was exaggerating, she changed her mind after he became visibly shaken following a trip to Los Angeles. "He didn't eat. He didn't sleep. He just kept saying, 'They know, I know.'" Sheila then recounted a disturbing story that stunned the courtroom: a party Prince allegedly hosted, but not by choice. "The first Diddy party I ever saw," she said, "was at Prince's house, and Prince wasn't happy about it." According to Sheila, sometime around 2006, Diddy requested to throw an exclusive event at Prince's estate, Paisley Park. Prince agreed reluctantly after being pressured by mutual industry associates. "It was supposed to be a professional gathering," Sheila explained, "but what unfolded was something Prince never wanted to be associated with." The party reportedly began like any other red carpet champagne famous guests. But once the cameras stopped flashing, things changed. Sheila said, "The security staff told me no one was allowed to bring in their phones or personal security." Sheila said, "That's when Prince told me, 'This isn't my party anymore.'" Inside, the energy shifted. Sheila described witnessing behavior she had never seen at Paisley Park, including suggestive performances, controlled substances being distributed, and an eerie absence of boundaries. And then there was a private section of the estate closed off to most of the guests. "Only a handful were allowed in," she said. "Prince looked at me and said, 'That's where the real party is.'" Sheila didn't go beyond the door. The next morning, Prince reportedly told her, "That was the last time I let him into my home. Something dark came in with him." The prosecution asked if she believed Prince regretted allowing Diddy access to his world. "Absolutely," she said. "He felt like he'd opened a door that couldn't be closed." And after that night, everything changed. As her testimony continued, Sheila began weaving a narrative that stunned the courtroom. According to her, Prince believed that control in the music industry wasn't just financial, it was psychological. He told me, they don't just want your hits, they want your silence, and if they can't buy it, they'll bury you. Sheila said Prince often spoke of NDAs, backroom deals, and secret meetings where careers were made or destroyed overnight. She connected this to what she'd heard about Diddy's alleged freak-off parties. Sheila testified that Prince believed those gatherings weren't just about pleasure. They were about power. He said, "They film everything, that's how they get you." According to Sheila, Prince described it as a system where people are groomed, filmed, and blackmailed, and if you don't comply, you vanish. Sheila also noted that around this time, Prince had started a full-scale legal and spiritual war against Warner Brothers, the same company that was tied to both his contract disputes and Diddy's record label deal. He told me they were all connected. The same executives that shortchanged him were the ones helping launch Diddy. She also said that Prince believed Diddy was allowed to rise because he played the game, while Prince was punished for trying to own his own music and speak out. The courtroom was silent as Sheila described one of Prince's final statements to her. He said, "When I go, don't let it be in vain. Remember what I told you. Protect the truth even if it's ugly." Sheila told the jury that Prince confided in her about an entire network within the music industry, one built around surveillance. "He said they record everything, and I mean everything," she testified. According to Prince, many of the most elite parties he was once invited to were actually traps. He said people were led into rooms, offered substances, and then caught on camera, not knowing the footage would one day be used as leverage. Sheila mentioned that Prince felt this surveillance system was used to secure loyalty and silence. And did he said Diddy was one of the gatekeepers? Sheila said, referencing multiple conversations in which Prince described Diddy as someone who had crossed the line and now operated not as an artist but as an enforcer. He wasn't just participating. Prince reportedly said he was curating, controlling. Prince had grown increasingly disturbed by stories he'd heard from artists who escaped the bad boy ecosystem. According to Sheila, Prince would recount how they would vanish, spiral, or disappear from the charts overnight. He reportedly told her he believed some had been blackballed after refusing to engage in certain activities or after trying to expose what really happened at these parties. But what truly unnerved Prince, according to Sheila, was the idea that the footage existed and was being stored or traded. He said, "This isn't just dirt, this is currency. They own you with it." Sheila testified that Prince had begun looking into who had access to these tapes and feared what might happen if he ever appeared in one, even if he was merely in the background. That fear, she said, haunted him until the day he died. According to Sheila, the last conversation she ever had with Prince wasn't just strange. It was alarming. She told the courtroom that just days before his death, Prince called her unexpectedly in the middle of the night. "I remember looking at the time, it was past 2 a.m., she said. "He never called that late." Her voice tightened, and he sounded scared. He wasn't afraid of death, but that night he sounded afraid of people. Sheila testified that Prince spoke cryptically but clearly. He said, "They're watching me. They want me quiet." She said he didn't say who they were, but that she already knew the system, the industry, the gatekeepers he always warned her about. "He told me he was going to speak out." She said he said there were plans. He'd already been talking to people about testifying in a federal case. He didn't say whose. The courtroom stirred at that moment. The prosecution asked her to clarify, did Prince say he would be testifying? She nodded, "Yes." And when I asked what about, he said, "These parties, these artists, the tapes, they're not rumors. I've seen them." Sheila said he seemed especially disturbed by the involvement of men he once considered allies. He told me he went to a gathering and realized half the people in the room were there to collect secrets, not share music. Then came the quote that left the courtroom silent. He said, "If I go down, it'll be because I tried to save someone who didn't want saving." Sheila paused. "At the time, I thought he was talking about an artist, but now, seeing all this, I think he was talking about Diddy." She recalled Prince's final words on that call. "Don't let them twist my legacy. And if something happens, remember this call. Say it loud if I can't." The next morning, Sheila tried calling him back. No answer. A few days later, he was gone. "I didn't want to believe it," she said. But now that I've seen what's come out about the abuse, the parties, the coercion, I think Prince was trying to warn the world and they cut him off before he could. Sheila E.'s testimony continued into one of the most explosive sections of the day as the prosecution drew direct lines between Prince's suspicions and the federal charges facing Sean Diddy Combs. When asked if she believed Prince's warnings about surveillance, manipulation, and coercion were reflected in the case, she said, "Every single detail Cassie shared in this trial, Prince told me was happening years ago." She continued, "He told me artists were being filmed without consent, that these parties were fronts not just for drugs and power but blackmail, that NDAs weren't protecting victims, they were silencing them." The jury listened closely as Sheila described a conversation where Prince reportedly referred to Diddy not as a producer or peer but as a handler. She explained, "He said Diddy knew everyone's weakness and knew how to use it. He didn't just want to control music, he wanted to control people." Prince allegedly feared the same fate would befall other artists who crossed him. And that's when Sheila brought up the coincidental collapses of several bad boy artists' careers. "He told me May's total day 26. It wasn't just mismanagement, it was punishment." Then she told the court about the deal between Warner Brothers and Bad Boy, a partnership Prince reportedly said tied two devils together. Sheila testified he hated Warner for how they treated him. But when he found out they were bankrolling Diddy, he said it made sense. "Of course they are," he said. "They fund the machine. I escaped, but others never will." Prosecutors asked her why Prince hadn't gone public with any of this sooner. Sheila's voice cracked slightly. "He was waiting. He said he wanted to release the story with evidence, dates, names, contracts, but the week before he was supposed to meet with an investigative team, he died." And just like that, the silence of nearly a decade made sense in a whole new way. Sheila ended her testimony with a final quote from Prince. "What they do in the dark comes out in the music. Listen closely. You'll hear the pain." She turned to the jury. "Now you're hearing it in court." The courtroom lights seemed harsher when Diddy's lead attorney, a seasoned litigator known for dismantling celebrity witnesses, rose for cross-examination. Until now, Sheila E.'s testimony had unfolded under the steady guidance of prosecutors, methodical, compassionate, reverent toward Prince's memory. The defense chose a different tactic attack. Credibility, question motives, muddy timelines. First, they leaned into the 5-year period when Sheila and Prince reportedly had no contact, citing magazine interviews where each claimed the other had moved on. "Moved," the attorney began. "Isn't it true you and Prince had been estranged for nearly half a decade? That you published a memoir he felt betrayed his privacy, causing a rift?" Sheila responded firmly. "We disagreed over the book's tone, but we reconnected. I have phone logs, flight manifests, and handwritten notes from him dated January through April 2016. Prosecutors quickly entered those into evidence, forcing the defense to pivot. Next came insinuations of financial motive. The attorney noted that Prince's estate is still being litigated, then asked if Sheila hoped to strengthen her position as a potential beneficiary by inserting herself into a high-profile trial. The implication drew murmurs from the gallery. Sheila paused, looked directly at jurors, and said, "Prince and I resolved our creative disputes in 2015. He asked me to protect the truth, not chase dollars. My testimony risks my touring revenue and relationships. I'm here because he asked." Undeterred, defense counsel moved to technicalities. Did Sheila personally witness Diddy recording blackmail tapes? Did she ever see contracts linking Warner executives to coercive NDAs? She admitted she did not, but reminded the jury her job wasn't to provide documents, but to share Prince's warnings. "If you want paperwork," she said, "ask the label archives. Prince told me exactly where to look." The prosecution seized on that, promising they would subpoena additional corporate records. Tension escalated when the defense challenged Sheila's recollection of Prince's final voicemail. After playing the 27-second clip, Prince's voice barely audible, saying, "We aren't safe. Watch the tapes." The attorney suggested it could reference prescription disputes rather than conspiracy. Sheila's reply was chilling. "You can spin his words, but you can't spin the pattern. Artist broken footage hidden. Silence sold." The cross-examination lasted nearly 2 hours. By the end, Sheila remained poised, but the courtroom atmosphere had thickened. Jurors scribbled feverishly and one requested a tissue during a sidebar, evidence that even under a barrage of doubt, Sheila's account had pierced emotional armor. Diddy's legal team sat stone-faced. Their strategy had bruised Sheila's image but not shattered it, and in their attempt they inadvertently spotlighted one unspoken fear. If the documents Sheila hinted at truly exist, they could blow the case and perhaps the industry wide open. When court reconvened after lunch, prosecutors counterattacked with a carefully choreographed evidence dump, records they claimed Prince intended to share before his death. First came a sealed envelope from Prince's personal attorney, opened in camera and then summarized for the jury. Inside were photocopies of 3 NDAs. One signed by a female vocalist describing a coerced private performance at a 2010 Hamptons party linked to Diddy's team. One signed by a male session guitarist referencing compromising footage recorded in Miami. And a third unsigned but drafted for an up-and-coming rapper outlining hush money terms if he declined special appearances. The attorney's cover memo stated Prince had obtained these from a trusted whistleblower at a major label. Next, prosecutors played an audio file recovered from a Paisley Park backup drive, Prince rehearsing an interview that never aired. In the clip, he says, "They'll call it networking, but it's harvesting. Young artists go in thinking it's a party. They leave owing a debt measured in silence." Jurors leaned forward, hearing the same cadence Sheila described. Then a financial analyst took the stand to explain money trails. Prince's team had mapped shell companies routing appearance fees to 2 boutique security firms staffed by ex-military contractors. The analyst linked those firms to private events matching the dates of Cassie's alleged freak-offs, and several gatherings listed in the NDAs. The analyst testified that invoices were labeled venue lighting or VIP liaison, identical language Cassie said Diddy used when hiding escort expenses. Finally, prosecutors introduced hotel keycard metadata subpoenaed from a luxury chain's archival servers. Logs showed Prince's passcode was reissued remotely at 3:00 a.m., the night before his emergency plane landing, the same hour Sheila claimed he told her, "They're outside my door." Prosecutors argued the reissue indicated unauthorized tampering, supporting Sheila's assertion that Prince feared being followed. The cumulative effect was electrifying. Individually, each exhibit was circumstantial. Together, they formed a lattice NDAs matching Cassie's narrative payments coded to disguise vice costs, Prince's own words anticipating blackmail, and digital breadcrumbs implying surveillance. Even conservative legal commentators whispering in the overflow room admitted the prosecution had done something rare, turned a dead icon's paranoia into tangible courtroom weight. "We might be witnessing the first posthumous whistleblower," one analyst quipped on a live stream as prosecutors rested for the day. They left the jury with a projection of Prince's handwritten reminder to Sheila. "Your silence won't protect you." It hovered on the screen until the judge dismissed proceedings. The subtext was unmistakable. If the jury believed Prince foresaw everything Cassie endured, convicting Diddy would feel less like a verdict and more like fulfilling a prophecy. Word of Sheila E.'s testimony and the evidence bomb rippled through the entertainment world before dusk. Social feeds erupted. Veteran producers posted cryptic "told you so" emojis. Legacy journalists admitted they'd once dismissed Prince's warnings as eccentric ramblings. A global hashtag Trust Paisley Prophecy trended by evening. Music law firms fielded frantic calls from labels wondering what unpublished NDAs might suddenly be subpoenaed next. Inside Bad Boy's Manhattan offices, insiders leaked that 2 senior executives took bold, indefinite leave within an hour of the hotel key metadata M reveal. An internal memo circulated at Warner Music instructing staff to preserve all historical documents pertinent to artist arrangement agreements, sparking rumors that the label expected federal knock and talks. Even streaming platforms felt tremors. A major service quietly convened a task force to audit archival video footage it hosts from private performances. Back in court, Judge Subramanian scheduled an emergency in-chambers conference to discuss expanded evidentiary scope, signaling that more sealed material could surface. Reporters speculated that Prince's estate, long deadlocked over valuation, might now hold leverage over labels desperate to avoid further disclosure. Legal pundits predicted a cascade of civil suits from artists who'd signed hush contracts under duress. Most telling of all was Diddy's demeanor at day's end. For the first time since the trial began, observers noted he refused to make eye contact with the gallery, choosing instead to stare at the defense table's wood grain. When his attorneys whispered, he didn't respond. Outside, his mother Janice and his twin daughters exited behind tinted umbrellas, no longer pausing for cameras. Sheila left through a side door, escorted by U.S. Marshals, a precaution ordered after prosecutors disclosed anonymous threats on social media. She later released a brief statement. "I did what he asked. I protected the truth." Her phone, insiders said, hasn't stopped buzzing, musicians thanking her, executives warning her, and fans pleading for more. And somewhere in the swirl, the meaning of Prince's final public message, "Just when you thought you were safe," landed with new resonance. The trial of Sean Combs had already been billed as a reckoning for him personally. After Sheila's testimony, it looked more like a reckoning for an entire era of music industry power. As court recessed, a veteran court sketch artist summed it up best to a CNN mic. "I've seen fraud rackets, blood money cases. I've never seen a ghost walk into a federal courtroom and testify. Today, Prince did." Whatever the jury ultimately decides about Diddy's guilt, the story can no longer be contained. Silence. The commodity Prince said labels valued most just shattered.